Hi, we are Homo sapiens.
Have you ever been in love?
Of course,
May I know who is that lucky someone?
I don't need one particular someone to feel love. I love the reality that we inhabit. I love the life that we all live. I love everything,
Except, of course, Homo sapiens.
of course. Hi, we are Homo sapiens. I'm Alpha from planet Earth. He is Beta from the parallel Earth. Today we are talking about a novella, The Sorrows of Young Werther by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. This is an epistolary novel. Most of the narration happens in the form of letters written by protagonist Werther to his best friend William. Within first few letters, we understand Werther is a young man who is rusticating in a small place called Walheim after he has probably broken heart of a young girl called Leonora. And he writes to William that he was not the one to blame for the heartbreak. He spends most of the time making drawings of nature or portraits of people or reading Homer and taking walks in nature. He describes the countryside and country folks to his friend in his letters. Through these descriptions, he comes across as a mature man in possession of moderate degree of wisdom to his mind. He writes to his friend about all the people that he meets in this countryside. One of them is Magistrate S. and his eldest daughter Charlotte. And Werther's aunt cautions him before he meets Charlotte not to lose his heart to this girl because she is already engaged to be married to a very worthy man. But Werther writes to his friend that this information held no importance for him. Within a month of his staying in this place, Walheim, Werther writes to his friend that he has met a girl and has fallen in love. The girl is Charlotte. He sees her the first time when she is distributing bread among her 8 siblings. By Werther's description of her to his friend, it can be assumed that Werther liked her agreeable manners and her feminine charm, and of course, her lovely figure, as Werther writes to his friend in his description. We, the reader, understand that Charlotte is just a simple, homely girl who likes to read fantasy romance novels, but Werther is still besotted with her because of her feminine charm, her figure, and her dance as she waltzes with him later on in a ball. As they waltz, their physical proximity leads to their mutual affection. They like each other. Werther confesses to his friend William that during their dance he felt possessive towards Charlotte and felt that she should dance only with him and not with any other man. This in spite of knowing that she is engaged to be married to another man. And then comes inevitable mention of a man named Albert. Werther asks Charlotte, who is Albert? And she hesitantly reveals Albert is the man she is engaged to be married. Now, at this point in story, dear viewers, imagine yourself in Werther's place. You are besotted with a lovely young woman, and then you get to know that she is engaged to be married to someone else. Any wise man here would distance himself from such a woman. I recall my folly when I earlier called Werther as a wise man, because our hero, in spite of this knowledge, still engages in little flirtations with Charlotte. She, in return, does the same, recalling contemporary romantic German poet Klopstock and sharing same sentimentality with Werther. He feels emboldened by her reciprocation. It seems they share same sentiments or sensibilities. As he gradually seeks more proximity to her, he forgets his original objective of rusticating to draw and to read, and he finds nature doesn't appeal to his mind anymore. His mind is restless and is always seeking Charlotte. In spite of knowing that she is engaged to be married to another man, Werther still continues to attach himself emotionally to her and feels gratified when Charlotte shows some reciprocation. They continue on getting closer to each other, and with every mention of Albert, he feels a little upset. But gradually, Werther convinces himself that Charlotte loves him. This is perhaps every man's desire. to have a forbidden fruit. Werther knows he can't have Charlotte, yet he doesn't stop himself from pursuing her. Werther comes across as wise man, but wisdom is of no use here. This is pure passion, instinct, and passionate hunt of a man for a woman, disregarding all social boundaries. His wisdom is weak in front of his passion for Charlotte. This is perhaps pure masculine tendency to seek the thrill of a hunt for a female. Had Charlotte been not engaged, Werther perhaps wouldn't have found her so appealing. It's precisely because he can't have her, he desires her even more. It's always more thrilling to a masculine mind to chase a difficult hunt. Sitting ducks don't excite masculine hunting minds. Then follow the classic signs of what can be described as falling in love. Werther doesn't like drawing nature. Nature doesn't excite him anymore, and he constantly seeks Charlotte's company. He draws only her profile, in which he fails few times. One profile does come out good, which he keeps for himself. Classic signs of falling in love: being neglectful of everything and everyone and assigning all your attention to the object of your affection. Later on, in one of the conversations with Albert, Werther asks to have a look at his pistol, which Albert informs is not loaded. Werther puts the mouth of pistol to his forehead, an act Albert finds very shocking. "Why would you do that?" he inquires. Then ensues a long conversation between them regarding suicide. Albert believes suicide is an act of weakness. Werther takes the other side, that suicide for passionate reasons is justified. Werther holds passion as superior to reason and leaves abruptly before coming to conclusion with Albert. Werther's mind is restless as he pursues Charlotte and perhaps perceives that eventually he has to depart from her. He finds artistic pursuits are not satisfying his mind anymore. He thinks a daily working job somewhere would probably discipline his mind. So he bids adieu to both Charlotte and Albert and joins as a civil servant in an embassy. But soon the rigidity of bureaucracy bores him. He leaves that job and contemplates joining army. But then, when told it's a dangerous job, dissuades himself and then decides to just travel around. Then he gets to know that Albert and Charlotte have got married. Novella has a lot of description of Werther's meanderings around town and in nature. His thoughts about Charlotte and his silly sentimentality, such as objects touched by Charlotte, are important to him, and he, in his words, quote, "kisses them 1,000 times," unquote. After the news of their marriage, Werther is little upset. Writing to his friend, he consoles himself in his mind that Albert is a wrong man for Charlotte. Their sensibilities do not match. I am the right man for Charlotte. Our sensibilities match. Further on, he engages himself in wishful thinking, in which he imagines Albert to be dead and possessing Charlotte for himself, becoming her husband. This wishful thinking is just because he is growing more possessive of her now that she is married to Albert. Finally, he goes to meet her after marriage, and when they meet, a bird, a canary, perches on Charlotte's hand while she feeds the bird. Charlotte shows Werther how the bird can eat even from her mouth, picks up grains from her lips. Then Charlotte innocently makes the bird kiss Werther too. Feeling this vicarious kiss from Charlotte through the bird, Werther feels fervent passion for Charlotte. Werther meets a madman searching for flowers in winter to give a nosegay to his beloved. Werther pities this madman. Werther later on understands that this man used to work for Charlotte's father, and the woman this madman loved and wanted flowers for was nobody else but Charlotte. The man has gone insane out of love for Charlotte. At this point in book, Werther is obsessed with Charlotte, childishly obsessed with her lips, wanting to kiss her, but his sense of morality prevents him from spoiling the, quote, purity of her lips, unquote. His obsession for her overtakes his mind and impairs his reason. Up till now, we understand story through Werther's letters to his friend William, and hereafter the story is narrated by editor of the story, who tells us that he gathers papers and letters from Werther's desk and completes this story for us, the reader. This editor tells us how Werther becomes obsessed with Charlotte, becomes melancholic, irritable, and finds everybody else irritating to him, especially Albert. Now, Werther has started to resent Albert for possessing Charlotte, and Werther believes Albert doesn't value Charlotte enough because his behavior has not changed much even after marrying this angel, this prized possession as Werther deems Charlotte to be, which is obvious. Every lover considers his beloved as priceless possession, and when others don't agree with that evaluation, the lover gets angry. Albert also understands by now that Werther is in love with his wife, so he also starts to avoid the awkwardness of conversing with Werther. Gradually, he resents Werther for and tells Charlotte also to keep herself away from him and let Werther go away from them on his own will. Werther meets Charlotte 3 days before Christmas. Charlotte tells him not to visit her until Christmas and be discreet in his talk and behavior towards her. He understands what she meant by that. Here, Charlotte finally confesses to Werther that she loves him, but begs him to find love in someone else and then come back to her as a friend. In spite of promising Charlotte he will never see her again, Werther comes to meet Charlotte one final time 2 days before Christmas. During this meet, they end up reading songs of Ossian that Werther has translated himself. The passion in these songs melts both of their hearts, and they both cry. Filled with passion, Werther finally kisses Charlotte, who tells him to never see her again and goes into a room. After waiting for some time for her to come out, Werther says final adieu to Charlotte and leaves. Later on, as we understand through this editor, that same night, Werther asks for Albert's pistol through his servant, and when told that Charlotte herself handed it over to the servant, Werther feels happy that the final fatal act of his life would happen with an object touched by Charlotte's hand. After writing letter to all the acquaintances asking for forgiveness from his friend William and asking for forgiveness from Albert for all inconveniences that he has caused to him and confessing his love for Charlotte, one final time, at about 12 midnight, Werther shoots himself with the pistol in his head. I don't understand why Goethe, the writer, would make his character suffer unnecessarily, because after shooting himself, Werther doesn't die for next 12 hours, but suffers pain from his gunshot wound while all people come by to visit him, except Charlotte. Last two lines of this novella say, Werther's body was carried by laborers. No priest attended. The novella is written 2.5 centuries ago, an era that we today know as a romantic era, romanticism, where nature and human emotions and imagination valued more than civilized world governed by human rules. Description of human emotions are romanticized, exaggerated. Language is far too ornate by today's sensibilities. Adjectives to define simple human emotions by today's sensibilities seem far too exaggerated. Sorrows in the title connote a heavy burden of sadness, but in truth it's just one man being heartbroken over a woman. Why won't that heartbreak be a great sadness? Heartbreaks are not easy to deal with. Werther committed suicide over heartbreak. The word sorrows is totally justified. Would you die for a woman? Yeah, why not? Love for is a human ideal. Just like you hold your ideal, self-inquiry through reason, as supreme, I hold love for a woman as my ideal. Just as you would probably die for your ideal, I would die for mine. Real question is, would you die for a love for a woman? No. If by love you mean mere mammalian attraction for a female body, then no, of course not. Not at all. I will not die even for my own beliefs, because I might be wrong, as Bertrand Russell said. I would take my time to verify my beliefs, and even then I won't die for my beliefs. No human ideal is worth dying for. Life is far too precious, I believe, to sacrifice it for some nonsensical belief and ideals that are nothing but products of fertile human imagination. I consider any human ideal that makes you sacrifice your life is fallacious. Life is for curiosity and for understanding and building greater awareness in oneself, not to sacrifice it for a mere mammalian bodily attraction in the name of love.
That's not how I define love. We'll have some idle chat about the idea of love some other time. But yeah, you're right. Any ideal that asks for your life is wrong ideal.
I get it. You feel sympathetic towards Werther because he fell in love and sacrificed his life for love. But I don't feel sympathetic towards him. I think he was a reasonable man at start and engaged in artistic pursuits. But then he lost his reason for some misunderstood notion of love for a woman, Charlotte. Love, as I understand through his letters and his description of, it's just his attraction, physical attraction for Charlotte. He is obsessed to kiss her lips. He mentions that several times in his letters. In my view, he lets himself be pathetic in front of a mediocre, homely female who he perceives as so-called angel, perhaps because she was pretty. I can't see myself in this character. Perhaps you can.
Yes, of course, I can. I can see myself.
This is the story of a man with the pretensions of learning and wisdom, but he is besotted by a pretty young lady. He attributes to her with virtues that she probably doesn't even possess. He attaches so much importance to her that he doesn't even care about his own life. In my view, this is just a foolish man who dies by his own foolishness.
I see a man of utmost passion who is so impassioned by a woman that he deemed his life not worth living without her. I admire his passion, which is not foolishness. At one point, Werther, when talking to Albert, upholds the virtue of high passion over cold reason. Only a man high on passion can understand the intoxication of it. Rational minds are incapable of such passion. I like Werther.
So that's all for now. Bye.